Are you concerned about your future? We invite you to consider Option Canada.
I'm a former Canadian immigration officer and a senior case analyst, and have served the Canadian government for 16 years. I provide accurate assessment on every case, and I'll be happy to assist you in making Canada your home.
For the past 26 years, we have assisted professionals, business people, senior managers, and the self-employed worldwide to relocate to Canada. We can help you and loved ones back home live the Canadian dream.
Do it once, do it right.
What will be the impact of People's Party of Canada in upcoming election? This is the topic of our debate in Behind the News with Halima Saadia today. I am joined in the studio with some of the People's Party of Canada's candidate, Ian Pretty for Don Valley West, Hazar Al-Sabah for Mississauga Erin Mills, and Tahir Gora for Mississauga Malton. I welcome you all in the studio.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us.
So let's start our debate on this hot issue, because if we see the current situation of all the political parties in Canada, the question arises, what impact can People's Party of Canada create, and can it create any impact? So we'll start with you, Ian.
Well, thank you. I feel very excited about what we're doing, because I think we're attracting candidates. Attracting people who had supported all the previous parties in the traditional parties in the previous election. We had done a poll online that showed only half of our supporters voted Conservative in 2015. 23% of people didn't vote at all. So we feel that there's an untapped a pool there that we can really access of people who just didn't feel they had a good option last time. 17% Liberal and 10% from the other parties. So it's not, we're clearly demonstrating that it's not an offshoot of the Conservative Party. It's really for people from all over the spectrum in Canada. So we're very excited.
So Hazar Al-Sabah, what would be your take on this?
I'd like to echo Ian's words. I am also very excited for this opportunity. I think that the People's Party definitely will make an impact this year if it hasn't already. We have an opportunity actually as a People's Party to unite people from all diversity who are Canadian and bring them together and voice their concerns as well as their opinions and views on Canadian politics today. So it's definitely a great opportunity to make politics different.
So Tahir, your take on this?
Yeah, no, I'm very confident that our party is a platform for Canadians to raise their voice, to share their concerns, and we are truly reflective of Canadians' ambitions and Canadians' concerns. So I'm so glad that our party leader, Maxime Bernier, created a great political platform and created a great political party that would definitely give a voice to voiceless Canadians.
So when we talk about the party, the first question which pop up in our minds is the agenda. And people want to see the clear agenda of a party. So any one of you, whoever wants to start, would you please explain our viewers what is the clear agenda of People's Party of Canada?
I'll start.
Sure.
Well, I'll kind of talk a little bit about myself and how I got into politics to begin with. And it all starts with reading the political platforms' agendas. And I've noticed over the last decade that the elite parties, such as the Liberals and Conservatives, and as well as the NDPs, their platform never actually spoke too deeply or concisely about their agenda. They had the what, but they never had the whys or the hows. And so what struck me with the People's Party's agenda and Maxime's platform is that, you know, he tells us what he's going to do, why it's important, and how he's going to implement it. And I think that's very important for Canadians when it comes time to deciding who to vote for on election day, because there shouldn't be a moment when you're at the voting polls where you tell yourself, well, I'll figure out, they'll tell me how they're going to do it when I vote them, so I might as well just trust them. You have to know how the party leader is planning on executing his agenda, because that's where we can instill, or where we could trust that leader to do what he says he's going to do it, understand that there is a common sense behind what he's going to do, and as well, at the end of the day, hold him or her accountable for not doing it if that time came once after election. So that's very
Tahir, what
important.
would be your take about the agenda?
You know, the first thing I really got fascinated when Maxime Bernier started party, he talked against identity politics. He talked against extreme multiculturalism. And I love those notions, because we moved to Canada as new first generation immigrants for Canadian values. We didn't come here for sort of the culture what we were living in, because there were few fundamental flaws in that culture. That was the reason we moved to a better society. When we hear Prime Minister Trudeau's stance, when he says there is no core Canadian culture, I really get upset. Why there is no core Canadian culture? So one thing is very important for a party. We talk about uniting Canadians. We do not endorse communal politics. We do not endorse politics based on ethnicity or religious lines. So this is one of the greatest attraction for me, and I moved to People's Party of Canada. And then our economic policies, then our immigration policies, we talk about quality of immigration, quality of immigrants, not just the quantity of immigrants. You know, these kind of things I think Canadians would love to hear from a political party, and this the only political party that talks about those fundamental
We'll
things.
come to Ian. Ian, what would be your take on that?
I was saying to hear before the show, I think what we're clearly seeing is the Conservative Party really trying to duplicate the Liberal Party. And so I felt that as every week has gone by, we're more and more able to differentiate ourselves. We mentioned immigration. I think Canada's in a very fortunate position to be able to attract the best and brightest from around the world. And I think we have to get back to a return to economic immigration, where it's really a focus on people with high education, with high skills, who are ready to contribute. We have many people who are in a position from all kinds of different countries who can do that, and I think that's what we should get back to. On things like the fiscal issues, I think we're setting ourselves a very clear gap and difference from the other parties. We're going to balance fiscally in 2 years. The Liberals, of course, are making deficits just worse and worse, and the Conservative Party won't even commit to balancing the budget in its first term. So that will give us the position to then reduce tax for Canadians. We're the only ones who are saying that want to reduce the number of marginal tax brackets from 5 down to 2. Anyone earning under $100,000 will have a flat 15%. So these things will leave more money in people's pockets, and I think the other parties just simply aren't offering that. So I think we're in a very good position.
So economically, we are going to give Canadians a better solution. So let's come to your hopes and your anticipations so far and in future. Whoever would like to start, they are more than welcome to start, and then one after another, people would like to hear from all of you.
Yeah, our hopes is from our own party. Actually, Canadians hope from People's Party of Canada in terms of putting concrete action plan, and we are offering concrete action plan from media strategy to immigration, from political correctness to economic policies. Our leader, as well as our party, as well as our candidates, they are clear about those issues. We want total freedom of expression. That's the hope of Canadians. We want gender equality. We want separation of religion and politics. Because as we see today, in Liberal Party, in Conservative Party, as well as in NDP, they are exploiting religious communities, they are exploiting ethnic communities. We don't encourage ghettoization. Personally, I feel that all Canadians, wherever we come from, we can have our heritage dear to us, but on top of everything, Canadian values are dear to us. And what are those Canadian values? For sure, for my perception, those are gender equality, freedom of expression, individual freedom, as well as separation of religion and politics. If a lady wears skirt or if a lady wears sari, I have respect equally for both, but I expect both to observe these fundamental Canadian values.
Because they're the unifying force for any country, and in the long term, if we see the political process, what is happening in our country is the result of that ghettoization, not having two-way traffic towards the society we are embracing. So any one of you would like to add something to it, or should we proceed?
No, well, I could add something. One of my hopes is to simply put, end the ping pong game that we've been playing every election, where we're moving from liberal to conservative, liberal to conservative. It really is an example of the game ping pong, and I think that the People's Party is definitely a breath of fresh air and an option for Canadians to do politics differently. And as Tahir mentioned, Canadians and Canada we do have values. We do have Canadian values, and I think that the People's Party really reflects those values in our party, such as respect, freedom, fairness, and personal responsibility. These all encompass Canadian values, and I think that a lot of Canadians are going to relate to that. I mean, I asked a question recently on Twitter to immigrant Canadians, recent as well as seasoned immigrant Canadians. Why did you come to Canada? It must have been for one of those four values, or for values that add to or complement the values of the People's Party. And I think that's what my hope is for Canada today and for the future.
Ian.
Hazar mentioned the four principles of the party. To me, and they all have a common thread that runs through our policies, but for me, the most important one by far, I think, is fairness. And I think there are a number of issues threatening our national unity that I think the other parties are just simply not prepared to even address. So equalization, which is likely not to be something that maybe Ontario voters necessarily have at the top of their minds, but I think it's very important because there's a growing Western separation. I don't think many people are understanding how serious it is. So the majority of people in Saskatchewan and Alberta are now so frustrated with the federal government leadership that they are looking to leave. I have a lot of friends there. I'm trying to get the message across that the great thing about our party is that it doesn't focus on regional selfishness. It doesn't say, here's what I want for my riding, or here's what I want for Toronto, or here's what I want for a certain region. We get away from the special interests and we look at our policies revolve around what's correct for the country, what's going to make every Canadian, no matter where they are in the country, feel that things are working fairly again. And I think on things like equalization, tax reform, getting rid of crony capitalism in particular, where we pick and choose which businesses are going to get our federal tax dollars undeservedly, the ability to scrap all that and be able to say to Canadians, we have now returned to a system where everything is fair. That is really, that's a primary hope of mine in this election.
So outreach to the Canadians and their response, that is our next
Yes.
point. So far, what is your output for that? Any one of you can start.
So I think we are trying our best to get our message across Canadians about our agenda, because Canadians need to know about People's Party of Canada, because this is true true alternate to all those elite parties. We are the ones who are talking about common sense. We are the ones who are talking about freedom. We are the talking about talking about prosperity. So I'm sure that as a message would go to Canadians, they would love to resonate with us, because they don't hear common sense from other political parties.
And I really like the speech of our president of the party, Mr. Bernier, that we should always consider Canadian first. That is the need of the time. And for all, Canada is for all, but Canadians first. So let's come to you guys. So what is your output for the outreach?
So at the end of the day, everybody has to make a choice. Everyone, the most important thing for me is to get out there and vote at the end of the day on October 21st. And what I want Canadians to remember when they do go and vote is to ask those open-ended questions when they decide who they're going to vote for, and to ask how this agenda of the Liberals or the Conservatives or the NDP or the Green or the People's Party even, how are we going to execute our agenda? So be sure to have an answer to that question, because you are the one deciding who's going to be your leader, who you're going to follow for the next 4 years. And that's very important, knowing how your leaders are going to serve you. And at the end of the day as well, I want the Canadians to know that the People's Party, because there's been arguments of whether or not the People's Party is a right party, a left party, a central party. At the end of the day, this party is a forward party. And that's what I want Canadians to know.
So Ian.
So I've been working in the riding for about 6 or 7 weeks now, and the response has been excellent. I can honestly say the response has been excellent. I think people are clearly fed up. They're fed up with the current government. They're not really comfortable with the leadership that Andrew Scheer is offering. They feel that there isn't really something available there, and I think they're really hungry for something new. And so I'm getting a very good response at the doors. Occasionally you'll run into someone who is committed to one of the traditional parties. That's going to happen, but I would say at least 80% of the interactions I've had, people are either very positive or at minimum they're curious. They want to know more. And so we have some good information for them that we printed for the riding and the people we run into. And I just wish we're trying to, in our ridings, it's almost 100,000 constituents. So, I mean, I would love to, unfortunately we only have something like 105 days left, but I'd love to get to every single person, because I really believe that if we could actually in person talk to everybody, we would probably win the entire thing. But our goal is to meet as many people as we can in the riding. I can definitely say to the people who have just been nominated and haven't gone out and do that, it's been a very good experience so far. I'm sure they'll have the same experience that I have, and I think it's been very positive so far.
So before we wrap up, any message you want to convey to the people through us, all of you, you're more than welcome to do this. So
I would say, just in closing, people have a brand new option. They don't have to stick with this horrific liberal government that we've had for 4 years. They don't have to go to a conservative party that, frankly, we hardly know what they're doing these days. I don't know what direction they're doing or what they stand for. And you can get something with some solid principles that you can actually believe in and I think be proud of to support.
So Hazara.
As a closing message to all Canadians, I'd like to say that the People's Party is truly humbled. The candidates are truly humbled and have that humility and represent you very well, as opposed to what we've seen in the past and currently with our elite parties, such as the Conservative and the Liberals, where they try to hide their imperfections. And that, in my opinion, is not a representation of you or me. And so if there's one thing that you could ask yourself at the end of the day is which party best represents you, it would definitely be, after reading up on all the platforms, it would be the People's Party.
Tahir?
And I would say that our Canadians, fellows, they need to look into this reality that our leader is the most experienced leader in political arena today. Other party leaders, they are, in my humble opinion, quite immature in politics. Canadians are experiencing their immaturity. Mr. Bernier is very mature, seasoned politician, and we candidates are not just career politicians. We are from the people. That's why it's the People's Party of Canada. We reflect people aspirations and excuse me. So I must add in it that people should look into the representatives from their own circles rather than electing those career sort of politicians.
So anybody would like to add anything into our debate today?
Well, just thank you for having us. This was a great.
Thank you very
great
much
Thanks
for
for
all
hosting
of
us.
you.
Thank you.
And it's been a very,
Thank
very nice introduction today. I will wrap up here by saying the same words as our leader, Maxime Bernier, said, that Canada is, our strength is our unity. And Canada should be first for Canadian and for all Canadians. With these words, thank you very much for watching Behind the News with me today. Stay tuned for next time.